Jimmy for me is an offensive soloist. And I think that, he just kind of like, he'll mix in his post ups, he'll mix in his drives, ball in his hands type of guy. Again, he's not a super skilled passer, but, but he's not like a fluid movement guy. And that's what the hallmark of the Warriors was, having a lot of intentional movement on offense early in possessions, and then once the shot goes up and there's a secondary ball, they would be like lethal in finding the three-point shooter off of the offensive rebound or off of the scramble situation. That's not really what Jimmy does.
So let's talk about Jimmy's fit with the Warriors. Of course, you have been you like Steph Curry. You've been a fan of that run that they've had.
For sure.
How do you feel Jimmy Butler is going to fit in with Steph Curry, Draymond, and the Warriors?
I think it'll be a little bit awkward. Jimmy for me is an offensive soloist. And I think that, he just kind of like, he'll mix in his post ups, he'll mix in his drives, ball in his hands type of guy. He's not a super skilled passer, but he's not like a fluid movement guy. And that's what the hallmark of the Warriors was, having a lot of intentional movement on offense early in possessions, and then once the shot goes up and there's a secondary ball, they would be like lethal in finding the three-point shooter off of the offensive rebound or off of the scramble situation. That's not really what Jimmy does. You have to be extremely selfless to do that, and you have to do a lot of running. And I don't think that those are things that Jimmy Butler's really been, noticed for in his career, and particularly the late career here, when you're a little bit older and you're not just as free to run around like a maniac. So they're going to have to find some common ground where they'll, integrate some Jimmy ISO, some Jimmy post-up stuff to keep him engaged and active in the offense. And he'll have to kind of meet them halfway and be willing to get involved in some other actions that, favor Steph more. But again, he's a talented guy. He can pass. He can play make. You can figure something out with that. As far as that goes. And it's just about, like, again, offensive basketball is just finding ways to get your best guys in the spots they want to be and manipulating the defense. And so you can use, him in the mid post or post to, draw help, draw doubles, and create situations where, you can get actions with Steph shooting or free him up to shoot. Jimmy can take some of that ball handling burden where Steph doesn't have to do some of that.
Yeah.
So there's ways to work, but everyone's going to kind of have to give a little to what their preferred thing is to make it work.
And if I've watched more of the Warriors this year than I probably would have liked to. And what they were doing a lot was, of course, Draymond and Steph play predominantly a lot of the minutes together. And then they would run Wiggins and Dennis Schroeder, kind of the second unit, whenever stagger the time, and also whenever Steph or Draymond is out, et cetera, et cetera. But with Jimmy, and that wasn't working, right? That was not working. Wiggins, it just at this point and since the finals, has not been able to run or initiate offense at an efficient pace. Even for the whatever 10 to 15 minutes that that we're allowing. Jimmy will be able to do that if you give him that, you know what I mean? And I know Curry's going to be able to do a lot with that. Now, the full 5-team trade is, of course, the Warriors get Jimmy alone, no picks or any additional players. The Heat, they get Andrew Wiggins, P.J. Tucker, and a protected first. That's all they get.
That's it. They don't get Schroeder.
They don't get Schroeder.
Woo! That's not as good.
That's not as good.
Not at all.
That is not as good.
I mean, at this point, you're trading the ghost.
Oh man, PJ hasn't played in like 2 to 3 years. He wanted to like quit. He got the players in union involved. Like the Clippers would not play him, because they were trying to be a playoff team, and he kind of just sucked.
Yeah.
All right, now. And to he's saying he still wants to play and he has a lot to offer to the team. Now, the Pistons, they get
besides shoes.
The Pistons got Lindy Waters. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Josh Richardson. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder, just only Dennis Schroeder.
Okay.
That sucks for Dennis. And then the Raptors somehow get Kyle Anderson alone.
The Raptors get Kyle Anderson. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Guys are just flung around the league.
And that sucks for Kyle.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, Dennis Schroeder's, for me, a useful NBA player.
Yeah.
Borderline starter, backup point guard. So, I mean, the Jazz are getting something, and they didn't really give up anything that I can tell. I don't think any of these other teams are getting much of anything. I mean, for the Heat getting, which I originally thought they were getting Schroeder and Wiggins, I thought, well, that's not terrible. That's two guys that should start to replace Jimmy, and you combine with Bam and Hero, and you somewhat competent team, you would think. So without Schroeder being a part of that deal, I don't really love this for Miami either. So I think really the Warriors are the only team that kind of came out okay as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And the Jazz with getting Dennis.
Yeah.
Now, that protected first. You gotta get them to take that protected out. If you're the Heat and you're not getting Schroeder out of this, like you gotta, you take this protected foolishness off. Picks are they're whatever you make of picks. Because they're unknown. It's really an unknown to it. Some people, are picks people and some are not. It really just depends.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the West and we're going to get to some of these other, changes and trades that have happened, but just looking from a Golden State perspective now. Right now they're in the 10th seed, okay? And we know with the play-in, you got to get at least to 10. All right, so right now they're in 10th. Phoenix, Sacramento, Minnesota are ahead of them. Like that's 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Throw in the Clippers who are at 6, because of course if you get the 6, you don't have to play the play-in.
Yeah.
All right.
Big benefit to get to 6.
And they're
how many games?
3 games back. So that's
from
not
6.
terrible.
You're in 10. There's 3 games off of 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's open.
It's open, and I foresee Sacramento coming out now. They very well can hoop. You had DeRozan and Levine. They would have had 2 8th seed playoff appearances with the Bulls. I think at least 1. I know, maybe 2. So they're going to rekindle they're trying to rekindle their 8th seed playoff
8th seed vibes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have every right, but I foresee them falling out. Especially in favor of Golden State, if you will.
Yeah.
Phoenix, I don't know what to make of them. They're just they're basically tied for 9th, Phoenix and Golden State. So
Phoenix just has never they really haven't figured anything out this year. Like you don't feel that they've that they've ever sort of connected and gone on a run or seem like they're poised to go on a run. So it's hard to think much of them. But the team you're forgetting in this, to me, is San Antonio.
Oh no,
Fox,
and they're
a little bit behind these teams.
Yeah, but you have to include them.
But if Fox, really clicks and kind of really complements Wemby, you still got Coach Chris Paul out there. Maybe they're a team that gets at least into the play-in.
But that's kind of my point. Like, it's a lot of teams making moves, and they anticipating making a run, and it's just like the musical chair. Somebody's going to be left out
for sure.
And I don't know.
And
I don't know if this Jimmy
these
Butler.
Are like, these also feel like they're mini runs.
Yeah.
Like none of the teams we've discussed from 6 to 11 or 12, feels like they're going to go on a 20 and 8.
That's my point of bringing it up. Like, I don't think this Jimmy move puts them in that situation. Now, will they be a little? I think they'll be a little better.
Yeah, they should be a bit better.
But the question for all of these teams that are making these moves is how much better.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna need to get on a little heater here. To solidify one of these spots, and like you said, even fight off the teams behind you, because even behind Golden State, not only do you have San Antonio is at 12, at 11 you have Dallas.
Yeah,
and they're making moves.
They made moves. Yeah.
Not only the Anthony Davis, Luka, which is a little older, but we'll still get to it. They just traded yesterday earlier today for Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
Which he's been a really good player for Philly and is on a team-friendly deal. I thought that was a good deal for them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this does for Golden State.
And then the other name we haven't touched is the Lakers.
Yeah, for sure.
They lost some size when they made that trade. If Luka's nagged by injuries the rest of the season, and LeBron needs a mental break, like they could get back where they're more of a 6, 7, 8, 9 than slightly ahead of that where they are now.
And then the two young teams that are way up in the standings, I wonder, like, from an organizational point of view, like, is Memphis or Houston worried about Golden State? Like, Memphis is at 2, Houston is at 3. And to be honest, if you're a normal basketball fan, like just on paper, I'm taking, Golden State over Houston and Memphis, but that's not how this works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not how this works. And also, Golden State has to make it into the dance. And then, we've seen some young teams who have not yet solidified themselves lose in the first round, even if they have a high seed. We've seen that, Sacramento as of recent and things like that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, no, I don't think if you're in the top couple teams, you're worried about all these moves in the back but the thing is pretty much most of the teams from like 5 to 12 have made some sort of move that they think is going to do something.
Yeah.
And so, you just keep looking forward and, things might feel different when you're in the playoffs and maybe you are the 3 seed and you're drawing a really difficult 6 seed who's really got their shit together.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you who that's going to be right now.
Yeah.
It might kind of work in Dallas and maybe they move up to 6 and they're playing really good. And now you're like, shit, we got a tough first-round game. But you can't worry about it because you got to worry about yourself.
No, for sure, for sure.
That's the thing.
And while this is on my mind, once again, the NBA does this where we were just a month ago, we were talking about how can the NBA improve and the ratings are down and there's no intrigue and all these things that they can do. And then what the NBA is kind of good for and known for is roster change, headlines, and things like that. And here they steal it, take it here during Super Bowl week. But even NFL aside, just gaining interest midway through the season, now the NBA is exciting again.
Yeah.
People want to see, it feels like it. But regardless, like especially here in the short term, people are going to want to see Luka with the Lakers. Yeah. Versus how much more intrigue is Luka with the Lakers than if he would have just stayed with Dallas? Like
the way things were going, it was very quiet. I mean, he missed a bunch of games, but it's not like they started the season with him healthy and got out of the gates 13-2.
Right.
So they were mildly disappointing before Luka went out in terms of you were in the finals last year. You don't come back tearing it up. You kind of come back and it's kind of mediocre. Yeah. And then he's been out for so long that they've just kind of been treading water and in the back half of the playoff picture. So absolutely there was no intrigue there.
Yeah.
This rejuvenates it.
And then Golden State, more of the same. And with all of these teams. I mean, it's just with all of these teams making moves, we are going to want to see. I want to see Jimmy with Golden State.
It raises so many questions. So many really good players have moved in the last couple of days, and you're going to see, well, how does all this shake out?
Now, before we're going to get to those other moves really quick here, I wanted to just tell you, I wanted to close the deal on this Jimmy stuff. I want to tell you a little bit more details on it. So, the first of all, the Raptors are no longer in the deal. That just came in. The Heat are working through a resolution with Kyle Anderson after Toronto fell out. I guess they didn't want Kyle Anderson anymore. I didn't tell you I wanted Kyle Anderson. I told you I wanted Duncan Robinson. What are you talking about?
Well, the thing about it is you've got, like guys got guaranteed money and whatever. They may not have the roster spot.
Anyway, right.
Without giving away something that they don't want to give away.